Hello and welcome to the C.A.P podcast. I am your host, Carma Spence, the Own Your Awesome in Business and Life Coach. And today my guest is Meredith Eisenberg. She helps business owners turn their passions into thriving businesses. She is also the co-host of the Paycheck to Passion podcast and the co-founder of the Passionate Entrepreneurs Network. She's also the author of the soon-to-be-published book, Your Escape Plan, which features success lessons from over 50 passionate entrepreneurs interviewed on her podcast. And because she's got this sort of podcasting expertise on how podcasting can help your business, and that's really why I'm doing this podcast that you're listening to, I thought we'd kind of do this recursive podcast about podcasting. And especially if you're an author, speaker, or coach, a podcast could really help you build your business. So I brought Meredith on to kind of talk about some of that stuff, and away we go. So welcome to the C.A.P podcast, Meredith.
Thank you, Carma. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. So could you tell me what inspired you to create your podcast?
Well, the thing that inspired me is I was listening to story after story after story on NPR about how the economy really has messed up people's lives. There are people who've worked their entire lives in a particular job and then they get laid off and then they're like, oh no, what should I do? And the only option they think is available to them is to go work at Walmart or McDonald's or something like that. And so then they're in a terrible, terrible situation where, they're working for no money, no health benefits, no anything. And I'm like, well, if you're going to make $10 an hour or whatever, if you're lucky, you might as well start your own business. And I had been in the online business world for 8 years at that point. And I'm like, okay, so what would help people to make this leap? I'm not even promising six figures, but what would motivate people to try to set something up to make a couple $100s a month instead of that second or third job? I said, I'll just tell stories of people who've done it because I know lots of people who have. And so that was my motivation behind starting the Paycheck to Passion podcast, is to show all kinds of different people in all sorts of different businesses. People, and the one thread that carries through is people had an idea and they brought it to fruition. And now they're making some money. And we have some people who are making $500,000 a year. And we have some people who are just barely beginning. They might even still be in their full-time job. So they're bringing in a couple $100s a month. And I wanted to show all of it so that people could identify someone who is just one step or two steps ahead of them in the story.
And it's kind of funny how you say, well, if you're going to be making $10, you might as well be an entrepreneur, because it's so true. When you're in startup, sometimes you work for pennies.
Yes.
But it's worth putting that effort in, because
it's for you.
It's for you. And also if you've got the right idea and the right target market and you're working a plan that's doable, you're not going to be working for pennies forever.
Right.
And only when you're working for someone else, you're guaranteed that this is how much you're going to make and you're not going to make any more. But when you're an entrepreneur, you could make this, but you could also make the sky's the limit.
Right. And it's you and it's your brilliance and it's your talent that you're sharing with the world. And that's as much of it as anything, right?
Exactly.
It's knowing what it is you were meant to do.
Exactly.
And being able to share that with the world. And I some people maybe were meant to be Walmart greeters, but my guess is most people weren't.
Exactly. And there's a point too where sometimes you just get to a point where you just can't work for someone else. I know that I kind of became an entrepreneur like kicking and screaming the whole way. Although when I look back on it, I've had the seeds of entrepreneurialism ever since I was a kid. I just wasn't trained to see myself that way.
Right.
So
exactly.
I'm really glad that you're showing people, look, there's a spectrum out there and it is what you make of it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.